Welcome to Head On here on Shaw TV. I'm your host, Hilary Eastmure. On this show, we typically take a closer look at issues that are making news here on mid-Vancouver Island. Today, we're going to focus on Nepal and what we can do to help people a world away. Nepal is in crisis. On April 25th, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake rocked the country. More than 8,000 people were killed, and there was extensive damage. Then again, on May 12th, a 7.3 magnitude earthquake happened. Almost 50 people killed, even more damage, and thousands of people injured. And, you know, we see the images of the destruction on the news. We see people suffering, but it can seem just so very far away. And if you're like me, it leaves you wondering, what can I do to help? And if I give money to an aid organization, where does that money go? And that's why I've invited Tom Carter to join me today. Tom, you have worked and traveled extensively in Nepal with a trekking company that you founded, Moon Mountain Adventures. And so, you know, you have an intimate knowledge of this country. Tell me what it was like, you know, waking up and hearing the news about the earthquake.
Instant devastation. And immediately, well, shock, because I was seeing images, but immediately I'm thinking of Nima Sherpa, my friend of 25 years, my trip manager, and his family. And the phones weren't working then, and anyway, it was the middle of the night. I got to talk with him that evening, and he was okay, but they were all living out in an empty field under tarps.
Mm-hmm. So this, I mean, it hits just so close to home for you.
I know the yard. Yeah, and I think from him I can get the sense of fear that everyone had. They don't want to go in those buildings because they're all falling down. So I've been able to keep phone contact with him since the earthquake. You know? And just horror stories. Huh? Because.
And I think, you know, for you, you actually had just finished an aid project in a village in Nepal. And this is something that, it's a village where a lot of your porters for your trekking company lived, and they actually asked you to help them make it so that they could have a fresh water tap in their village because they didn't even have access to running water.
Well, up the Gran, the town, is a large old town down below, and there's a road, so there's a road town. And there was one tap at the road town. And, but down below where most of the people live, there was trickles, barely trickles. And so they obviously needed help. You know? Okay,
so you created a video about your experience and about how this aid project rolled out. And I think the value in showing this video is that, you know, you're just one guy and you made this happen in this village. And I think for a lot of people, that's really inspiring to know that they can have an impact in the lives of some specific people in Nepal. Let's show the first clip from your video, a little bit about where this project started.
The 20 families who live along the road have this one tap for all their needs. But at least they did have water. The new pipeline would go directly to the old village below, where the need was by far the greater.
So Tom, I think that clip really illustrates the challenges that people face in everyday life in Nepal, let alone now that most of the country is in shambles. But you know, you worked with the people in this village, you raised the money, and then the villagers actually did the work on this project. Yeah. And I think, you know, those strong partnerships that we can build with Nepalese people and have that impact is really important. So what was it like working with people to get your project off the ground? Because I know you'd never taken on something like this before.
Well, with my company, I have a mailing list, so I immediately sent out an appeal well, I'd never done it, so okay, let's go. I sent out an appeal for funding to help these people have a water project. So I was able to give them pictures of the people and the town and how many people, 680 people, and they had this one tap that you just saw up on the road. The larger village down below didn't. You know?
Had nothing.
They had that tap cement structure, but no water coming out of them. There were 10 of them down there. So Singi, the head porter, asked me for that help, and I tentatively set out, and I was amazed by the response.
Okay, so let's show the second clip from your video here, illustrating how you got that project off the ground.
The hills above Gran are in Langtang National Park. We met with park officials to show them the wet hillside that seeped spring water. Long discussions carried on about the catchment system, the pipeline route, its total length, and how many trees we'd cut down. They seemed satisfied and charged only $100 for the permit. Frakas, Singi's son, got right down to work. Okay, off it goes. We measured and marked the route down the mountain, across the road, and continued down to just above the old village, where a large concrete distribution tank would be built. And still, discussions go on. The local sawmill cuts wood by terraces of wheat above the old town. Gran is perched high above the huge Trisuli Valley. Once it was a town on an ancient trade route to Tibet. Now the trails are overgrown and commerce has moved up onto the road. Two of Gran's 11 taps provide just trickles of water, while the rest are completely derelict. Although the endless discussions continue, with Singi, our head porter, haranguing his troops, we have decided to go ahead. In Kathmandu, we bought all the various materials for the intake system and trucked them to Gran. In heavy early monsoon rains, they were carried up the mountain, load by load. Everyone was soaking wet. The catchment tanks were buried, and soaked workers warmed themselves by a bonfire. Several creeks were dug, fed into pipes to the settling tanks, and we had running piped water. In the wettest monsoon in years, Nima supervised the construction of the distribution tank, the second part of our system. In crazy Kathmandu, we bought 3,200 meters of pipe and 700 meters of cable. While Singy rode in the truck with the pipe, Nima and I took a 6-hour bus ride to Gran.
Nice to this.
Yeah. We camped on Singy's roof. The pipe pile had become a playground. The Dassin festival time had begun. All work had stopped, and the buses were jammed with festival travelers. Nima and I went to check the intake system. Up the mountain, the flow rate was 1,800 liters per hour. It would have no trouble keeping the tank full.
So, Tom, you shot most of that video, and not all that long ago, and I think it's amazing. It provides a perspective that most of us have never seen of Nepal, and shows just how, you know, intimately you were working with people there and getting this water project off the ground. It must be weird seeing that footage and knowing what happened after that.
It was definitely a shock, because it was so satisfying to know that they finally had 11 taps with running water in the old village. And to know so soon after that the earthquake came, the village was flattened. So there are 600 Tamang people who live in that flattened village, who dispersed to other houses that still stood up in other villages. The water taps are buried under the rubble. There's no water flowing anywhere. So it's my baby. I want to go back and fix it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, something you told me was that you had literally just finished this video and it got posted the day after the earthquake.
Yeah.
That is just gut-wrenching.
Yeah, I had to post it, but it also became a vehicle. So many people had been donors to the water project because they knew it was a direct deposit into a community project. So this was a thank you to them to send them the video, but it came at a very dark time. So the response to the video was, "That's wonderful, but how can we help?
What now?
Now, are you going to do something? You know, can we send it directly to you? You know, and I can't provide blankets, and I don't have that network. But if I collect money, I can definitely go and help with the reconstruction."
Exactly. So there's that immediate aid effort that's happening right now with you know, these multinational aid organizations. But then if people are wondering how they can have an impact personally and know exactly where the money is going, that's where, that's exactly what you're talking about, because you are now planning a trip back in September, and you're raising funds now to go back to that exact village and help them.
Because they won't be building during the monsoon.
Right, and it's monsoon season basically
Starting
right
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be a really challenging season, even, you know, before this earthquake happened. Landslides are common. It's a tough time.
The roads are washed out, so the aid trucks and jeeps can't get in anymore because the roads are gone. Yeah? So very, very challenging. And very sad for the people who haven't got anything yet. Yeah?
And there are so many remote villages that's just a reality.
Yeah. I think Gran is fortunate because it's 75 kilometers north of Kathmandu. So a normal bus takes 6 to 8 hours to get there. It's very winding, twisting road. But during the monsoon, the landslides come down and wipe the road out. But it didn't happen in this earthquake. So they are accessible to get out or for aid to get there. Okay. Yeah.
And so for you, it must be daunting to be thinking about, you know, how can I make this happen? Because you said it was so challenging getting that water project going that you said, this is my first and last international aid effort. And that's not the case now, and it shows just how much you care about that country.
When I first talked to Nima the evening after the earthquake, so relieved that he was alive and his family was. But in talking with him, I was once again, I'm going, what can I do? And he said, well, come trekking.
And I think, does that seem like a crazy idea to go back as a tourist to a country where that's happened? But you said that that's exactly what they need.
It did initially. This is kind of weird to, let's go to a beautiful country and go trekking. But those guys need work desperately. And the way they get it is through treks. And I'm afraid when the main trekking season comes in October, it's not going to be very busy in those hills. People will be just afraid to go. So I'm going. Absolutely, I'm going. Even if there are very few people coming, I'm going to give those guys some work, because aid is one thing, but honorable exchange of work for money is better. And all that money that they get goes into their village. So.
And tourism is so crucial in Nepal.
Yeah.
You said their biggest source of income for the economy is remittances, but tourism is right up there.
It's like $1 billion a year comes in through tourism. I don't know if that's all I've been told. I just count my little part of it. But, and the more treks I do, the more money. These are the same guys every time that get that money, and they're all very community conscious. So their money will be going towards, if they do, if they're coming in the fall on a trek with me, their money's going to be going to keep their families alive and maybe get those sawmillers to cut some more boards because they need them for their house.
Yeah, and I think, it's amazing to see the relationship that you've built with this one particular group of people in Nepal over, the course of decades. And that's to see that and to know that, you know the people who you're going to be helping. There's so much value in that, because I know when you donate to a large aid organization, it's kind of a nameless, faceless kind of thing. It goes into the ether, and they do amazing work.
Yeah.
But for you, you know the needs and the names and the personal histories of these people.
And that's very valuable to the donors.
Yeah, and you said, right after you posted the video and the earthquake happened, you had people saying, how can I help, and donating to you right away and expecting you to go back.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. With the epilogue now of that village, you're going to be documenting the journey when you go back to Nepal?
Yes, yes. That video was made over 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall, so I was there a lot. I don't know how long I'm going to be there this time, because I'm mainly the bringer of money so they can buy materials. I don't know if I'm going to be banging nails. They treat me very well. They say, no, don't do that. We do the heavy work, and they feed me, and it's wonderful. But yeah, I would love to. I do a lot of carpentry. I'd love to bang nails with them. We'll see what happens. But I will have a scheduled trek at the beginning of October. I should be in Kathmandu with a new group.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about why you fell in love with Nepal, and why do you keep going back and walking thousands of kilometers and trekking throughout that country?
I was about 9, and I read Lord Hunt's book about the ascent of Everest. And it wasn't just getting to the top of this mountain, it was the Sherpa people. So I wanted to go and see Sherpa people. So I became a mountaineer here on Vancouver Island, and then started traveling Mexico, Ecuador, Chile, and the next trip obviously was to Nepal.
Wow.
And It was everything I wanted. We didn't go to base camp. That's a waste of time. You go up Kalapatar, which is the hill from which all the pictures you see of Everest are taken from there. It was just a wonderful trip, and the people were wonderful. It's much more sophisticated now. That was 1991. But that got me going. My first 3-4 trips were to the Khumbu area with friends to climb, and then started branching out.
And so what would you say to people you know, who are wondering how they can help and what they can do to get involved with your project?
With my project personally? Well, I can't give you the information on the screen, but you can go to my website.
Okay, and that's moonmountainadventures.com.
.com, and if you go straight to the schedule page, the information about the earthquake and my reaction to it and why I feel trekking is the best thing that can happen, and also links to how to donate to the reconstruction of this village. 2 simple links, you know.
Okay, and the value is that, you know, people know exactly where the funds are going to go, and and that means a lot to you because of this connection that you have to Nepal and to this particular community of people.
Yeah, and so if I have their email, say they give a donation with an email, then when I come back, it takes me a while to get those videos together, but when I have a video, then they will be on the mail list that receives it. So they can see exactly where. But also there's a link to the water project right there on that same page. And so they can see the village, the people. These are the people you would be helping. And
I mean, there's aid happening in Nepal right now, but the need is not going away anytime soon.
No, not for years.
Years.
Years. It'll take years for villages to. I heard on the Current today there was a guy who sort of the director of remittances, director of people leaving Nepal to work and send money back. He was saying the best thing for Nepal would be for a lot of people to leave right now. But Anna Marie Tremonti's going, well, how is Kathmandu going to get rebuilt? Oh, we have many people in the country. They'll migrate to Kathmandu and it'll get built. I had a bit of trouble with that. And so I was really happy that I'm doing what I'm doing in a personal, one-on-one, direct way. I bring the money, Nima and I bring it to the village, and then we see where can it help most.
Well, it's inspiring to see, you know, what you've done and the idea of being able to help people who are so far away, but you know, you have a close connection with them, and I think that's amazing. So best of luck, Tom. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. You've been watching Head On here on Shaw TV. Tune in 2 weeks for another episode examining the issues that really matter here on Shaw TV.